going on there, guys? We back with another one, and today we got to talk about Zion Williamson a little bit, guys. Now, we know Zion has had a tumultuous summer. Starting with the Mariah Mills stuff, but actually a little before that. We saw after the play-in game some of the things C.J. McCollum and Brandon Ingram had to say. I'm going to refresh your memory on that. David Griffin also said some things, but we're going to check out what C.J. and Ingram had to say about him being a professional. And then you have questions about his dedication to the organization, only to hear Mariah Mills said, he been doing frontward squats with her, in his arms in the middle of the floor on a bad leg. And so you have even more questions about his burning desire to be great. Well, we're going to look back at what was said about him from his teammates, and then we're going to check out these pictures of Zion Williamson today. Let's peep it.
And I know it's fresh, and maybe you haven't had time to think about it, but do you have a particular thing you would say is the highlight for you this season?
Highlight for me? I guess for me is probably stepping back on the floor after being out for 2 months. Just having a chance to be with my teammates again, having that feeling of what it feels like to be on the floor and playing the game that I love. Of course, I didn't feel like I came back on the court 100%, but I was with my teammates, and that's my happy place. So I think that was the highlight of my season.
If I feel like Zion, I'll be out there.
Is it kind of shocking?
You signed an extension that said you wanted to lay a foundation here in New Orleans with so much of the core in place under contract. Other than injury, of course, what do you guys have to do to take that next step next season?
It's hard to say what we need to do other than injury because we played 10 games together with our core. So I would say availability is important, man. We got to be available. We got to do what we need to do, off the court in terms of preparation, in terms of getting treatment, in terms of getting the right sleep, the right type of hydration, having the right type of diet. I mean, everything has to matter to us for everybody, 1 through 15. This is a job that is a performance-driven job, right, where, you play at night. Tonight we played a 9 o'clock game. That's mad late, right? Like, how are you preparing for a 9 o'clock game? Like, what is your regimen like? What's your schedule like? Consistently doing the small stuff, I think, will be very important for us as a team, especially for our younger guys, understanding that you have to get a routine that's consistent, and it builds consistent success. So I would say that's the first thing that we need to do as a team in order to be able to play consistently together with everybody. If we don't do that, then I'll never have a real answer for you as to what we can accomplish because we won't be able to see it.
So now, man, we get these pictures today with Zion Williamson putting in work with the New Orleans Pelicans. And many are thrilled, it looks like to me, on one of these photos where you can see the front of him looks like he may have a little extra fat, below his stomach. And the only reason I say that, obviously he's in shape for just the everyday person, me and you. But just looking at his injury history, the way he plays the game, the amount of weight he has is going to be critical. And also remember, his contract is the sum of his weight and body fat percentage has to be 295 or less. Once it hits the 296 mark, some of the conditions of his contract becomes voided. So that's why I say he still looks a little on the heavy side. Yeah, he's jacked up and he has, his biceps look really strong and he looks really fit, his legs and everything. But it looks like he's still close to that weight line. I would like to see him weigh 255, 260 at the most, just because, for one, his contract, and then the high impact nature in which he plays the game. If he's heavy with fat or muscle at 6'6", I don't think it's going to be a great thing for him in the long term now, because they're looking for him to play at least 70. I mean, he would have to give him 70 games, and I ain't talking about 70 games where he's injured come playoff time. I'm talking about 70 games in the season and ready to go every playoff game they have this year. You have to remember they have an in-season tournament too. So there's going to be some extra activity there too. So, man, yeah, I'm looking at it and I'm like, Zion, he looks like he's been in the weight room for sure. He's been lifting, he's been conditioning, but does he have the right body? Because just based off those pictures, if I'm being perfectly honest with you guys, I would be thrilled if that picture was of Aaron Donald. And I ain't even trying to be funny. It just looks like he's heavy muscular. And yeah, he'll still be able to do all his stuff athletically. I'm just looking at it from an injury standpoint. He plays a high impact, balls to the wall game. And he crashes and burns a lot. He dives out of bounds for loose balls. He goes for difficult blocks, in traffic. So how do y'all think Zion's going to do? I think he has to rebuild himself. He has to rebuild the trust of the fans and obviously the trust of some of his teammates based off their comments. They don't seem too sold on the fact that Zion Williamson is going to come out there and give it his all, fight through injury, or, taking the right nutrition into his body to give himself a chance to remain healthy throughout the duration of the season. I'd like to see him put together a very good season. By all accounts, he has a good nature to him, good personality. He got caught up in the Mariah Mills thing. She's been quiet, so I don't know what has transpired over the last few weeks, but know that she's died down a little bit. And I don't know if the lawyers got involved or whatever and sent her a cease and desist, but he has to rebuild the trust of these fans, the trust of the organization, and show he could be at least a centerpiece of what they have going forward. CJ McCollum is aging, and you could hear the frustration on him. You think about CJ and Dame being together, and those guys literally probably should have been playing the same position, right? CJ shouldn't have been reduced to 2 all those years, but he was so skilled at scoring that it worked for them for a while. But like if CJ had the opportunity to have his own team like Dame, I feel like he could have accomplished similar things. He was just drafted afterwards, had a few injuries. But I say all that to say those guys put in a lot of work together to make it work. They were a smaller backcourt, and they went to the conference finals before, and they're not an ideal size backcourt that you would want in the NBA, but they were so skilled, and both of them had, great skill sets that even though they weren't ideal, they were outskilling a lot of players, in leading their teams, leading their Blazers teams a little further than they probably should have been. And they just want to see, CJ just want to see the same dedication from Zion Williamson, just to show that he's fully vested in this thing and that he wants to take over the New Orleans Pelicans. He has good stats, just a small sample size, man. So that's my take on it. Pictures, it looks a little heavy to me, but it's an improvement from when we last seen him. But I want to know what you guys think in the comments. Am I bugging? Or Zion look good to y'all, or he still look a little heavy? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, peace.